Welcome to the Predictive Playbook. I hope you like that little introduction we created here to give credit to everybody that has been on this show. And there's a couple that we forgot, but the one that we should not have forgot, and I actually will change we to I, didn't realize I had done this, but I neglected to have Rob Veno as part of that video. So we will make sure that we insert that and get that fixed. But we just wanted to do a test run and see what other changes we need to make to the music quality and really make it state of the art. You know, like something that you would hear on a TV show is my goal. And we have all the Adobe products and Pro Tools and all kinds of stuff like that. So there's no excuse not to have it perfect. So Rob, welcome to the show. How was your weekend?
Weekend was good, John. Baseball hurt me yesterday, for sure. 4 plays. Only one of those 4 was any good yesterday, so obviously need to regroup from that day and get better today. Today I came across one early on that I put up, and potentially I waited out this day on purpose because the trade rumors are just flying, and you hate to be stuck with a ticket early featuring a team that just traded away somebody you were counting on. So we see pitcher scratches the last couple of days. We're going to see more of that the next 5 days as we go on here. Some of the hot names, obviously, Jose Barrios, Max Scherzer, we saw scratch the other day for what they called injury-related, but who knows? We may see Kyle Gibson, and there's a whole host of guys. So trying to play a little cautious like we do in the NBA, John. It kind of reminds me of daily NBA handicapping where, the COVID year and then this past season, I would wait till 5:30, 6 o'clock East before releasing. And sometimes that wasn't late enough to wait for lineups. But here we're going to look at a couple of lineups and see what happens here, because I think you have to be cautious over the course of these next 5 days. It's not only baseball that we see news flying, but it looks like Aaron Rodgers is going to be back. That news broke about 30 minutes ago. And I think we talked about that on this show last week, whether or not we thought he'd be back. And then the New Orleans Pelicans seem to be very active trading right now. They pick up Valanciunas, trade Eric Bledsoe out of there, trade Steven Adams out of there, and now we're seeing possibly Brandon Ingram out of there to Miami. So with the NBA draft coming up Thursday, plenty of NBA stuff going on. So it's for what's supposed to be a light time of season.
Yeah.
Pretty hectic right now. And in front of me, John, for your delight, I have on women's 1,500-meter preheat 5. I don't know if that's taped or if it's live, but it is swimming.
Well, that's recorded, and I bet you the Decky is swimming in lane 4. And I'll bet if you give me 50-1 odds, I'll tell you her exact finishing time within a second. That's how astute I am at swimming betting.
Yeah, they do have a graphic of her up right now as she swims in the pool. So yeah, the beauty of the Olympics is they have shown a lot of this live. I mean, there's so many channels for anybody who's got, in our area, Comcast cable. You go to one of 5 channels and pick up whatever you want.
Yep.
For the most part. Other than basketball, I haven't really seen a live basketball game yet, John, men's or women's. We see some 3x3 stuff, which is pretty wild. But yeah, the amount of coverage has been crazy, and some of it is taped, so you have to be careful.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know if you saw my tweet. I gave out a free pick for the swimming Olympics, and it nearly came through. It was Tori Hoke, and I think I'm pronouncing her name right. And seeing her swim, in the major events that she's been coming up in. She's a young star, and first Olympics, obviously, plus 650 to win the 100-meter butterfly. That was my recommendation. I'm watching it live at it was about 10:20 Eastern Standard Time, and off to a great start. She has the lead at the turn, has the lead with about 10 meters to go, and it wasn't even bang, bang, bang. She lost the gold medal by 14 100ths of a second. Making it worse, she came in 4th place.
Oh, my goodness.
So she lost the bronze by, I think it was 6 or 7. It was 7/100ths of a second. So .07. You know, I've seen ties at the 100th of a second in my lifetime, but when you're swimming for the gold medal and you're leading that whole way, and it's not the fact that I lost pizza money on a 650 bet, it's the fact that you were just like pulling for the young girl, and she is one of the young rising stars. So you're going to hear her name again. But what a great experience for her, even though she came in fourth. I mean, that, we see it in so many sports, where a golfer like Rory McIlroy shot 80 at the Masters in the final round, and everybody said he's a choke artist. Well, I hate that word because then at the U.S. Open, he won by double digits. And a reporter asked him, like, what was the difference with this event versus the Masters? And he said, well, if I wouldn't have shot 80, and he actually said this, at 80 in the final round of the Masters, I wouldn't be talking to you now. So, that kind of sums it up. Girls gymnastics got off to a pretty good start. I did think her last name is Carey, actually. She was one of the ones that was not part of the main team. Like, there's 3 major gymnasts in the girls' team and the guys' team. And then there's a group of others that can compete in the individual, but only the top 2 on the team get to be in the all-around. So she qualified, I believe, in 3 events and was spectacular. And then on the horse, where they run and then they do flips before. I mean, that's incredible. She performed just fantastic. And the judges all of a sudden gave her a 12 point something, which was just it was appalling. It really was. It was a head scratcher. I mean, it was like all of a sudden Angel Hernandez or our friend Joe West was behind the plate or behind the judges stand and said, no, that wasn't a strike. So, but unfortunately, she did not make the second part of the team and had a feel for that too, because she was getting 14s and even low 15s, and she was chasing down Biles, who's the greatest gymnast in the history of the sport. So the fact that all of a sudden they give her a 12 it's kind of like what? Yeah. What was that? But maybe I don't know gymnastics that well, but I can tell you the announcers were shocked because when she finished it before the scoring, they both said, "Well, that should be enough." It was not even close. But anyway, we'll have some more swimming events coming up tonight. And basically every night is when you're going to get to see the live finals. I don't believe there's any live finals in the early a.m., like 6 a.m. But, Ledecky's going to win the 1,500. She broke the Olympic record in the race that you're watching right now. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you she will break the Olympic record in the race you're watching. She swam 15:35, which is... and it looked like she was just cruising. And this is coming off a rare loss. And she lost to the Australian woman whose nickname is the Terminator. What a great name for a swimmer, especially to take down arguably the greatest female swimmer in the history of the sport. But that is the 400 meters. And then she had to come back and do the 200-meter heats. And so did the Aussie girl. But the Aussie girl's not swimming the 1,500, which is the metric mile. And obviously, Ledecky had to do that. And looked like she was just cruising. So that second place finish didn't seem to bother her in the least. The bounce back factor, right? And real quick, Rob, what I like in the swimming, and it's really sticking out in my opinion, is the sportsmanship. Like, there wasn't any crying when she lost, and then they were hugging each other like they were sisters or best friends, and she was congratulating her for winning the gold medal. And that's rare now. It's just so rare. You lose the 7th or the 6th game in the NBA Finals, and you don't even stay to shake hands with the other team, and you just take off. Like Tony Finn says, I'm not going to mention any names. But it's really refreshing that you see that, because these kids, they're not kids. Some of them are, in their 30s. work their entire life for this moment, and it doesn't always work out. But you don't see anybody like acting out, and it's pretty cool. They're acting like I had Bobby Kravitsky on today from Sports Map Radio, and he said it perfectly that they're conducting themselves as Olympic athletes are expected to, and I thought that was really well said.
Well, I know that last time around, Lily King was a little confrontational in 16, and but we've seen some pretty good stuff. I mean, the bit that I caught of it, and I think Lily King had every right to be a little confrontational at that point, right? I think it was an instance where another swimmer was doping or something, and they were kind of giving it back to her when she beat her. But we saw Adam Peat, I think, is that his name, Great Britain?
Yep.
I didn't realize how unbeatable he is, but he's unbeatable, and he was unbeatable again in the heat that I watched. And then we saw a couple of nights ago, I happened to be watching, and I saw a guy from Tunisia actually win a race in like lane 8, where winners never happen in lane 8 in swimming. I think they put the best people in 4 and 5.
That's right.
8 is generally not a spot where you see the winner come from. And they said it was the first ever win in a swimming event, Olympic swimming event for Tunisia. So good for him as well.
Yeah, and he actually, if I remember correctly, he actually attends a U.S. school, obviously a Division I school. And there was something with being delayed. His qualifying time was good enough, but there was something with the date at which he qualified or something. There was some kind of extenuating circumstance. And I think he was only, like 16 or something? Or 17, or... He's pretty young, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know the age because I don't remember hearing it, but I saw how happy he was. And I get on that just because you were talking about sportsmanship. And, again, that was a pretty good scene that night, with him winning and the other swimmers.
Yep.
So, that's what the Olympics are supposed to be about, though, right? I mean, most of these athletes that are going after gold, silver, and bronze, probably, I don't know this for a fact, but I would assume that they have competed against each other a zillion times already, and they know who each other are. So to be congratulatory, whether you win gold, silver, or bronze, like you're saying, in this case, Katie Ledecky was, you figure maybe they're friendly, even though they're from different countries. They probably know each other extremely well by this point in the Olympics.
And I just pulled up the 100-meter fly. I was going to update the current swimming situation, but I was wrong. Tori Husk, I think, like I said, it's Huske. She had one of the fastest reaction times at the start, 0.64 seconds, and that's outstanding. And she swam 55.73. The world record held by the woman who came in 5th from Sweden is 55.48. So this young Tori Husk swam 55.73, which is 0.25 seconds off the world record. She failed to get... No, she didn't fail in anything. She did not get... She lost the bronze by 1/100th of a second. The silver by 0.09. And then the gold, like I said, 0.14. But even if you put it out this far, you go all the way out to the 6th place, lost the gold by 0.68 seconds. 5th place, who's the world record holder, Louise Hansen, lost the gold by 0.63. I mean, it's crazy. It was such an exciting race.
Yeah, and we talk about in our profession shopping for half a point and how important half a point could be. How about 100th of a second? I mean, when you watch swimming, and believe me, I'm by no means even close to being knowledgeable about the sport, but I do see the Olympics, and what I notice is that very last stretch, John, is so important. You think somebody's ahead, and all of a sudden another lane comes in ahead of them, and it's all in that last stretch for the most part. The time differences that you're talking about, 14/100ths of a second, it's all in that final stretch and hitting the wall the very last time. There's got to be I don't know what the technique is, or if there's got to be an art to it that these swimmers practice, getting to the wall quicker than somebody else. But boy, oh boy, I see it over and over again where I think somebody is, maybe coming second, and they're not. They're really third. Somebody touched before them, so it's hard to watch all 8 lanes at once. But there's got to be some sort of technique and art form to doing that when you're talking about this minimal difference between gold, silver, bronze. And not even finishing in the money, coming in fourth. Yikes.
And thank God for the Omega timing, which has been around forever in that sport. And I guess track and field still uses it too. But those touch pads, it can be... The announcer was right in saying time and time again that you'd see the underwater finish in races that weren't even that race. And, touching with the fingertips, you literally run the risk of jamming your knuckles a little bit, because even at 1.70 meters per second, which is they're showing their speed, that can bend a finger the wrong way, but you'll be okay. But she was making that point that the difference between going in finger first versus letting your hand bend a little bit to soften the blow, that's 100th of a second right there.
Right.
It's crazy.
Makes sense.
So, I didn't think we'd talk about swimming this long, but let's do a little baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I have the angle of the day, which I'm going to pull up here. And throughout the day, I've liked this play quite a bit as it's worn on. And I have the wrong record there for Cincinnati and Chicago, obviously. Database didn't put it in right, but it's got the right pitchers. Cincinnati's 3 games over 500. Chicago's 2 games under 500. Chicago is, I think, in my opinion, going to be possibly big sellers. It'll be interesting to see if Brian and Rizzo end up somewhere else. But time will tell. But you're betting on a road underdog. And honestly, Rob, I don't know why the Reds are an underdog with Wade Miley on the hill. But our road team is starting an excellent pitcher with a 1.25 or lower whip on the season. And the home favorite is batting just 225 or lower over the last 5 games and has a 310 on-base percentage for the season. 46-30 for 61%, which doesn't sound like outstanding. I mean, you go 61% in any season, it's outstanding. But by averaging a 135 underdog bet over the last 5 seasons, the $100 bettor has reaped a 55% return on investment, good for $3,000 plus, just doing this blindly. So, wondering what you think. If you think the Reds are the right side here. I know with the line going up as the Chicago Cubs are becoming increasingly more favored a little bit since the opening. That could be construed as like a steam move. But I think the Reds are the better team. They have a whole lot more to play for, that's for sure. To chase down the Milwaukee Brewers if they're going to do it. No better time than the present to start making it happen. Any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, initially, John, this morning I put a check mark next to Cincinnati, but I came off of it for the same reason that I came off of them all weekend long. And when I played that series, I think in 2 instances I wound up playing personally, not client-wise, St. Louis. But that's the absence of Nick Castellanos from this lineup, and it looks like it's going to be extended now. He's such a vital part of that lineup, and without him over the weekend, I think they won Saturday, maybe they lost Friday, Sunday. It's not quite the same offense without him. That's not to say that they can't get enough off of Kyle Hendricks here. I mean, the reason why I checked it initially was the starting pitching matchup. I thought Wade Miley, he's been terrific. He doesn't strike guys out, but he keeps it on the ground. He keeps it in the yard. He doesn't put guys on for free. He's just steady. But I back myself up because of Castellanos, and maybe I shouldn't, but that is the only reason why I didn't get to Cincinnati today, because I think the bullpens, for the most part, I mean, I don't like Cincinnati's bullpen at this point in time either. We've talked about it a lot on this show. Both closers still on the IL, and the 4 guys behind him, Hembry and Garrett, and these guys, they had a stretch where they were really, really good heading into the break, and then they come out and they're really, really poor again. Maybe there's a couple reasons I shied away. But starting pitching matchup, like if you're going to go first 5, and play Miley against Hendricks first 5, and still you're an underdog. I think you still get plus 105
Yep.
with him. Maybe I could see it, but I do like the starting pitching matchup. If all things were equal and the playing field was your best 9 in the lineup against our best 9, and Castellanos was present, of course, maybe you wouldn't be this much of an underdog with Castellanos. But again, odds makers make numbers due to starting pitching, not due to 3 hitters in the lineup. I mean, how much difference is there in the lines on Angels games since Mike Trout went down? Really, there's not. I don't know what they figured for Mike Trout, but it's minimal at best. It's just the next day's starting pitcher, and that's how we'll set the price. So, Miley's a better starting pitcher. I'll say that much. That's for sure.
Yeah, first half here I see Westgate plus 110 for the Reds. So that's probably the way to bet this game.
Shop it.
Yep. Instead of like the full game, like my angle is suggesting.
Yeah, and again, in some places you only see plus 105, so bringing up Westgate at plus 110, again, that's why we say if you have the opportunity and you have multiple accounts, look at them all and take the best number. And if you don't, then spread some of your bankroll around and open up more than one, because the best number, it's still a big factor if you're going to bet every single day. If you're not playing every day, then we're probably not, our point is meaningless. But if you are, then 5 cents extra on an underdog is 5 cents extra on an underdog, right? How often do you say, I won't lay 120?
Yep.
That's, 10 cents. You probably won't lay 115 either, only on certain cases. So it's that big of a difference. That's our point when you're doing it every day. If you're trying to get to the plus side of the ledger, those numbers that you take on your ticket all come into play over the course of a full year.
Yeah, they sure do. It's interesting that 62% of the tickets are on the Reds, 61% of the money is on the Cubs, which is working against us a little bit, but not too much. It opened to 130. It's minus 138 right now.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of a surge within the last, 10 minutes or so towards Chicago. That may be people that in the know figure Rizzo and Bryant are safe. I don't know. Let me see if the lineup's been posted, John. That's probably a good game
point
to check here. Let me see real quick, because if those guys are in, just pull up my starting lineups here and see if the Cubs are. Yeah, see, the Cubs are up now, and Bryant and Rizzo are both in. So that's got a lot to do with it, guys. It's not so much to do with starting pitching here. The point about Wade Miley over Kyle Hendricks still exists. But as I said earlier, people are being cautious. Let's wait till the lineup is posted. Let's see if Bryant and Rizzo are still in Cubs uniforms, and we'll go at it that way. And that's not to say, because we've seen this before, bottom of the 4th, Rizzo walks off the field because he's just been traded in the middle of a game. You know what I mean? That does happen. But at least heading into the game, this batch of Cubs money, I'll call it, that we've seen in the last 10, 15 minutes, I think strictly due to the fact that the lineup is now posted and Bryant and Rizzo are both present in that lineup.
Yeah, it's good stuff, Rob. It's much like the way the NBA was being run, too. We were sitting here at 5:30 wondering who the heck's playing. And
right. And I know, in our business, John, we're time constrained, right? We would all love to get our plays up 7:30 a.m. But the last 2 years have taught us different, right? Football with coronavirus. You couldn't post college football plays on Tuesday knowing that they're going through another round of testing Friday night and Saturday morning. You got to be crazy. You play a game on Tuesday, 17 players have coronavirus on Saturday morning, and boom. So we've been taught over the course of the last 2 years, the beginning, we'll call it March of 20, into now 2021, we've been taught to be patient. It's great to be first, and it's great to get them up early in our business, especially when it's sales based and you want to be there early so clients can get a hold and best numbers, so on and so forth. But again, best number doesn't always come into play if you're patient, and at the end of the day the line jumps the other way, and you're there to get a better number then. So it's a lot of circumstances that have gone on. Major League Baseball, not so much. I'm speaking solely about this trade deadline period where we're being cautious. Once July 31st is over, everybody's going to go back to 8 a.m. posts with their games because we're going to know lineups, we're going to know teams. Right now, question marks abound.
Yeah, and it's easier to manage the email when if you put out a play too early, with the private client list that we have. It's easier to deal with releasing a play now than instead of midnight last night and then having all kinds of changes in the lineup and having to ask a million questions. And it's not because we don't like our clients; it's just that it'd be impossible to get to every single one.
Yeah,
and that's another reason I think too. I just put out my 3-pack now. I had a fortuitous weekend. The one play that I would have lost was the Scherzer game. I was playing the over in that game. That obviously didn't go over, and whether it was because he didn't start, I don't know. But it was part of the deal that he, we wanted action with both starting pitchers in there, like you said, but.
No Scherzer.
Yeah, most of the time. What's that?
No Scherzer, no play. I mean, I had the game too. I had it from a different standpoint. I had Washington with Max Scherzer, but once once you list him and he doesn't go, it's off the board. No play. And Baltimore won that night, right? I think Baltimore won the last two.
And it didn't go over the total.
I'm trying to read what James McGinnis is asking us here. He must mean, are the Reds +1 an angle that makes more sense long term? And boy, I don't know if I can answer that, James, to tell you the truth definitively. I mean, it sounds like a pretty broad question where he's asking, can you just play Cincinnati +1 day in and day out and maybe turn a profit by the end of September? But I don't know that I can answer that one really good. I'm more of an individual situational type bettor, and each day is different to me. Each day is going to be different. And with a team, to my point earlier, at least where I'm concerned, John, that I don't like their bullpen at this point in time. With a team like that, +1, you probably have to lay juice with +1 too, right? How many times? +1.5 you certainly do in almost every instance, unless you're like a 260 dog. +1 a little bit different, so maybe you can get plus prices there. But I don't know, James. I'm going to leave that to you, buddy. Individual thing. If you feel like you're onto something, then by all means. I'm not here to talk you off it. I'm just here to say that I don't know that I could recommend it at this point in time.
And the database is no help either. I just ran a query on it, and it's they have streaks, but all the teams have streaks, and they abruptly end without reason. What about the makeup game of May 30th between the Braves and the Mets tonight? That is starting pretty soon.
Couple of minutes, yep.
Yeah. And I saw this as a... but who are the Mets starting? I'm on the MLB site, and it has TBD.
Well... We are showing TBD for the second game, right? The 8-10.
Oh, I'm okay. You got it. Yeah. So Stroman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it seemed like the consensus was to bet the over in this game, which was I guess 6.5. And Stroman was 8 innings in his last start, and he really has good stuff. And don't read anything in his 7-8 record. He has a 2.59 ERA. And he hasn't had too many sloppy games of late that I would be alarmed by. And Mets are an offensive, problem child. I don't know what else to call it. We talk about the Yankees and their inability to get runners home. They get runners on base, but they can't get them home. The Mets sometimes go long periods of time that they don't even get runners on into scoring position, and that's why Stroman's 7-8. You imagine Stroman pitching for the Astros? He'd probably be 14-2.
Yeah.
So I was thinking the under in this game, but I think Max on record here is looking for a a side. So I don't have anything on a side. I would take the Mets, but you're paying for it.
Yeah, and I didn't play it. I'm going to take a look here real quick at the first 5 line, which seems to be not readily available in a lot of places. Which these 7-inning doubleheaders, I mean, for the most part, we have seen lines on first 5. Like 99% of the time, you can get that number, run line or money line. But here today, for whatever reason, we're not seeing that widely available. One thing the Mets have going for them offensively right now is Pete Alonso. It seems like Pete Alonso hits a home run every single game that they play. They win 2 out of 3 over the weekend against a very, very tough Toronto team. I think they got crushed on Saturday. Ryu threw for, and Ryu wasn't even really effective, but the Toronto bats certainly were effective. And then the Mets come back yesterday. I think it was a come-from-behind win in that one. So as they still wait on Jeff McNeil to come back into that lineup, and of course I still haven't really seen a firm timetable on Francisco Lindor, but that's 2 huge bats. That's your 1 and 2 hitter to be missing right now. Brandon Nimmo doing a pretty good job as a leadoff hitter. He's a solid hitter anyway. But Pete Alonso, well, and since J.D. Davis came back, J.D. Davis has only been back, I would say, about 7 or 8 games. And his on-base percentage at this point in time is in the 460 range. He's hitting well over 300.
It's quite good.
He brings a power source to that lineup. He's hitting cleanups. So, one guy leaves due to injury, one guy returns. If the Mets could ever get the 8 guys that they projected on paper to be in that lineup, which they may by by August, maybe they will have everybody back end of August. We'll see what Lindor has to go through to get back, but the pitching staff. I saw an article today, John, real quick, just circulating all the trade rumors that are out there, and the number of Met pitchers that are on the injured list. There were 11 New York Met pitchers on the injured list. It's amazing. It's
crazy.
No wonder the second game is TBD. It's going to have to be a bullpen game, I would think, but when doubleheaders and just for instance, 18 games in 18 days start to pile up on a team like this that has no starting pitching, like a team like the Dodgers that has no starting pitching. If you better get the most out of those starting pitchers, because otherwise it's just a domino effect, right? Then the bullpen gets overworked and the whole thing goes downhill in a hurry. So I think that the Mets, more than the lineup right now, are really worried about this starting pitching. They've got a real good back end of that bullpen. Trevor May, closing Edwin Diaz, but I'm missing the middle, the bridge to closer there. But that's the concern right now if you're the Mets. No Jacob deGrom, and I know he threw today. I read where he threw off a flat ground. So that's
the first step coming back.
Yeah, but without him,
he's going to miss at least another start. If it was flat ground, I would say at least one more.
Carlos Carrasco is on his way back for the Mets as well. Remember, they got him in the offseason. He hasn't really thrown for the Mets at all. So sometimes it's the teams that finally become healthy at the end of August that can do damage in the playoffs. The Mets have been in survival mode for a long, long time, and somehow, they've done it.
Yeah, somehow they've done it. It's right.
I don't know if it's an indictment on the Braves and Phils that they couldn't put this team away, as banged up as they are, or what the case is. But we're going to find out, because August is going to be a pretty wild month in that division.
Yeah, no question. So one last question before we get to our final free picks for the show. In the National League East, the Phillies, in my opinion, need just a closer, but it has to be a premier one. Suarez did pretty well yesterday, getting that job done with Aaron Nola pitching awesome again. So if you're the GM, and we always like to play GM on this show, if you have Wheeler and you have Noah. Now, if you were told that come playoff time, assuming that you make it, you have Wheeler and Noah pitching lights out. Is that reason then to go after Kimbrel knowing that you're probably going to be matched up against the Milwaukee Brewers, and that's no walk in the park at all. But I think if you had Noah and Wheeler at top form, you probably could go with a third pitcher to be named later and get through and be really competitive in that opening round of the playoffs. But is it worth giving up some of the good prospects they have in the farm system? They have two outstanding young pitchers coming up, apparently. And do you part ways with that for a 35-year-old closer who just happened to now reinvent himself somehow? Interested to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, boy, I mean, you look at his statistical line, John, and he's done. He's not reinvented. He's actually recreated himself. This is what he was prior
That's right.
to.
Yep.
He's just dominant. He's not walking anybody. I think he's got 12 walks on the entire season. He's only given up 12 hits for the entire season. His strikeout to innings pitch numbers are crazy off the charts. He is the premier guy at this point in time. The one, thing that I don't know off the top of my head, and the one thing any GM in the trade market is asking right now, or knows right now, he's not asking, he knows, is if Kimbrel is in a contract year. Now, if he's in a contract year and you're the Phils and you're just going to rent Craig Kimbrel and you can't afford to re-sign him next year, so you'll have him for August and September, I don't know that that's enough to convince me that I'm a World Series contender. So for the price that I have to give up, I don't know that I could do it. Now, some teams are in different financial situations and organizational situations where they have a plethora and overload of good young farm system people that, we can give you a couple because we have 6. I don't know that the Phils are in that group of teams either. So for Kimbrel, it's hard. I mean, you have to ask yourself, you have to face reality if you're Dave Dombrowski at some point and say, am I really a World Series contender if I go get this guy with the knowledge that I might not get him back next year? If Kimbrel would guarantee you, I'll re-sign with you guys. I like it here. Then I think that's not a bad, because then you're set up for the next couple of years. But I don't know how that goes for them. We'll see.
I think Philly fans, my hope for them is that they realize that Dombrowski is a guy to have at the wheel right now, and he won't do something ridiculously insane that could damage the team going forward, because the future for the Phillies should be bright. They should be the team that comes out of this division in a couple of years being the dominant force and the team to beat. And they don't need to wreck that now. Not with the Dodgers the way they are. I mean, the Dodgers are chasing down the Giants. They're trying to. And their banged up starting pitching is unbelievable. They're still winning. So I don't see how the Phillies would beat the Dodgers in a 7-game series to even, let alone beat the Milwaukee Brewers in a 7-game series.
Yeah, and to your point for down the road, John, just in their own division, the Mets' new owner, Cohen, will spend and spend and spend again. He wants to make the Mets relevant. He made that blatantly clear when he took over as owner and went out and got Francisco Lindor and others to help this team. So the Mets' future, along with, remember the Braves are playing without Mike Soroka as part of their starting staff this year, and Ronald Acuna for this entire second half of the year. So I think those 3 teams are real comparable going for. I don't know JT Realmuto's situation. Is he signed? He
signed for a while. Yeah.
So they're in good shape there. They're in good shape with Harper and Hoskins and I would say Gregorius and Segura you could probably keep around and then bring talent up. So I think that when you look at those 3 teams, Washington might be the one that's fading, right? Because crazy as it sounds, here's what I read today or heard today, that Washington has no intention of extending or re-signing Trey Turner, which you have 2 players on your team, Trey Turner and Juan Soto, core pieces. If they do trade Scherzer, and I don't think we know what the future is with Steven Strasburg, but it doesn't look great at this point in time.
No, it doesn't.
So if you trade Scherzer, your pitching staff basically is, rebuild. Total, complete rebuild, because Pat Corbin hasn't been what you paid for. And then if you trade Trey Turner, that team goes right to the bottom of the heap and into rebuild. So Miami's always up and coming, but I think, back again to your point about the Phillies and the future of the Phillies, I think those three teams are going to be extremely competitive amongst each other for the foreseeable future here. So you got to make smart moves, and Dave Dombrowski, like you mentioned, he's a guy who's got a proven track record. He's done it in a lot of places. So they do have the right guy at the helm here. They've had some other guys at the helm look questionable. Not this guy.
Oh, I agree. I completely agree. So I'll do my final bet here for the show, and it's in the Olympics, and it's in swimming, and we'll try not to lose by a hundredth of a second. But tonight you're going to see finals in the men's 200-meter freestyle, and this is going to be a really spectacular race because Great Britain could go 1-2 with Duncan Scott and Tom Dean very easily. And I wish there was actually a bet I could make that they do go 1-2. But I think the bet to make, though, is Kieran Smith at 7-1, and he's going to be in lane probably lane 2 or lane 6. So again, it's a similar situation to what we had with Torrey Husk. They call those people out there on the outer lanes burners. So when that the kid we were talking about in lane 8 in the 200 freestyle did that was a burner. So that's what I'm seeing there. I think Kieran Smith for the USA is a very good value at plus 7-1 because everybody is apparently taking Duncan Scott. He's plus 140 in this event, and his country teammate Tom Dean is 4-1, and then two other swimmers, and then it jumps up to Kieran Smith at 7. So, and Smith has swum fast enough to beat those guys, I think, and he'd have to swim a personal best. And it, quite frankly, might be pretty close to the world record as well. But it's 4 laps of the pool, and it doesn't last long. And it's like a minute and 40 plus seconds, and it's done. So it's pretty incredible the power that these athletes are showing in the natatorium. And then the 100-meter backstroke for men. This is Ryan Murphy is plus 150. He'll be seated second, and I think he wins. Republic of China the Russian Olympic Committee is what they're calling that team now. Right. But it's easy to see ROC and think Republic of China. But it's the Russian Olympic Committee. Kolesnikov, Clement Kolesnikov is the favorite at minus 120, but I think Ryan Murphy takes him down. And I'm not just making USA patriotic bets here. You'll see me on a lot of Hungarians coming up in the near future for sure. In fact, in the 200-meter butterfly, which is tonight at 10:35, there is one. But I'm not betting him because it's Christoph Milak, and he's 25-1 to win. And only the breaststroker from Great Britain, who, by the way, of the 20 fastest times ever swum in the 100-meter breaststroke, he has 19 of them. Talk about dominating your sport. There's no comparison. It's, who knows when that guy's going to lose? It's probably going to be when he retires. But this Milak from Hungary is, I don't see how he loses the race. Only he can beat himself in this race, and he should win by a pretty large margin. It's going to be pretty nuts how much he wins this by. It could be a couple of body lengths, which in swimming is, like from here to Mars compared to the rest of the field. In fact, there's a guy from Belgium in this final, and he's 100-1. So I think, Rob, this might not be the final. I think this could be the semis coming up tonight. But equally, you'll see him dominate. That guy from Hungary will absolutely dominate. And that's about all I have for tonight. So we'll let you be the anchor. And my massive database. Oh, here's Tony Finn. My goodness. Hey, Tony.
Hey,
sorry about that, man.
Timing. Perfect timing.
Yeah, you're on time for final bets.
Okay, I was going to say, I heard you. I just listened and say, well, I guess that's what we got for today. I said, well, that's perfect timing.
Yeah, it's Monday and I have dinner reservations, so every Monday I have dinner reservations. So
how about Tuesday? Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it is. It's Degenerate Tuesday.
Yeah, that's
at the Finn household.
And the truth is, somewhere in this neighborhood, somewhere within 100 feet of my house, it's Degenerate Day every day. There's a group in the neighborhood. They are degenerate, and I say that degenerate in a loving way.
Oh, you've been watching the Olympics.
No,
you get this good
it was
feeling.
on. They were on my patio, and they were watching. Hold on. They were watching something, and I said, "What? My God! What's happened to the Olympics?" It was skateboarding. I'm sure we have some skateboarders out there. I'm certain we have some skateboarders out there. And I skateboarded too. However, in my ghetto, we would steal some old metal roller skates from, well, stealing's the wrong word, but they would throw them away, I guess. But we'd take them out of the alley, we'd fabricate them, get us some 2x4, cut it shaped like a skateboard. And guess what? Never did it work very well. Those metal roller skates, they just don't go over concrete very well.
Well, I guess they could stick a little bit, right?
And I have to apologize. You know something? I had a skateboard. I actually had a skateboard, a real one, when I was a kid once. What did I do? My cousin down the alley, being from the immigrant neighborhood, there was cousin 1, cousin 2, cousin 5. But we had a rope. We had a rope, and he's pulling me. I'm laying on the skateboard, and he's pulling me with his bike. And my mom had bought me some brand new Keds. And big deal.
Back in the day,
deal.
big deal is right.
You couldn't be in the ghetto and get Ked sneakers, Tony. That's impossible.
Listen,
they were expensive. They were like $11 back then.
You got to remember we might have lived in the ghetto, but that was kind of a little bit of a guise, Long story short is, it was the end of summer, getting ready to go to school. Those were the new school shoes. And I'm on the skateboard, and when I got home, the toes of my Keds were gone.
Oh, no.
From being on this, and
were you grounded?
Obviously. You're not from they don't ground people in my family. They just beat them to death and then say, get up, boy, act like nothing happened and get on your way.
Did they take your iPhone?
That was my, iPhone, yeah. Maybe an eyeball. If I was really bad, it would have been an eyeball, not an iPhone. But,
you know what the killer was for me?
What?
If my dad told my mother to take my baseball bat.
Oh, mine was if my dad told my mom, I'm going to ignore him for just a little while, see if he'll warm up to me, and then I'm going to kick his ass. No, he was a good man. Good man. Still is a good man most of the time. All the time. No iPhone. But here's the deal. My girls, when they were in high school, they had no curfews. Nothing. No curfews. Come home when you want. You know what's right. You know what's wrong. You guys are smart girls. But the only requirement they had were A's. They had to get A's in everything. And I had a saying: get a B, B without your phone.
Wow.
And let me tell you, that was that leverage. Their cell phones were that's worse than being half-ass beat to death. Mm-hmm. Locked in the closet with a Barbie urinal. use that. That's all you can get. You can't get them out. You know, that was worse without your iPhone, or without your cell phone. So you're right. Those listening, you have kids or teenagers, no better punishment. None. It's torture. Hell, I think it's torture for my wife. Be without her phone.
And I'll tell you, I know I'm old school. We're all three of us are old school. But if you get a cell phone for a child that is not at least 14 years of age, actually, I think, in my humble opinion, you'll be doing your child a favor by holding off on those cell phones just a little bit longer than giving it to them when they're going to kindergarten in case something happens and they have to make a call.
Well, I have a caveat to that. There's a disclaimer to that. I wouldn't agree. I would not disagree. Here's the disclaimer. Make sure they got thick skin, because every single girl, especially if it's a girl, because girls are mean. Every mean girl will be saying, look at her, look at that. She's a pathetic, she's so poor, she even got a phone for the whole time. So she better have thick skin. That's just me. That's just saying.
Well, you can homeschool.
Well, then you don't have to give them anything. You don't give them shit.
Cut down all your expenses.
Yeah. I mean, you only need textbooks at that point.
Right.
What do you mean a pair of new jeans? You wear your pajamas to school.
That's right. We're saving so much money right now.
Wow. Man, I tell you what, I get on air with you guys and we really get off track for somehow, I don't know why, but I apologize for being late.
When you come on, our numbers, which were good, actually get better.
Well, that's because I've paid a few people, so keep my popularity up.
Yep.
Cousin 1, cousin 2, cousin 5.
So Max on Record, for example, one of our loyal chat room people, and James McGinnis really are
Mr. McGinnis, the man.
Their first names are probably Tony or a machine gun. Is that what you're trying to say?
Would you like to see mine?
Well, I think I've seen your collection of arsenals.
It's hard to get to. I'm kidding. All on for. I'm kidding. I don't have one.
I don't see the IRS in the chat room, so I think you're right.
They've already audited me to me. They're so tired of me.
So we're doing. Here's the summary, Tony. We're doing final bets. We went through baseball, and thanks to Rob, we really tore that to shreds.
Really?
In a positive way, yes. We went through the trade deadlines and the reason that you don't put out bets until you know for sure who's playing.
Which one was this?
And
Well, I'm sorry if that's what Rob said. It's nice to know for certain, but then that means you have to have clients that are on alert like 30 minutes before the game. All of them. Okay, guys, almost time. Here it is. That's the problem with that. I agree, though.
Yeah.
There's definitely a problem to it. Like we were saying,
if you're committed to doing it right, 30 minutes is plenty of time to get your bet in.
We were just saying that it's great for all of us when we can get up at 8 in the morning with the plays because obviously we're time constrained, right? You want more time for something, but my point was more towards this 6-day period that we're facing with this trade deadline. You just can't, your lineups end up empty because the team doesn't play. They trade guys that are starting pitchers get scratched, and so on and so forth. So I just 2 years now.
Yeah.
If we just go back to March of 2020, like I was saying to John, we got taught a little bit of patience here, right? Because in college and pro football, we had COVID tests to wait for on Saturday morning for college. Well, of course, we want to get games up on Monday night, Tuesday morning, but who can? When 17 guys are going to be down due to COVID on Saturday morning. So you had to be careful there.
You learned some patience, maybe, not me. Well, here's what I learned. I learned this. It doesn't matter. I'll put the play out, and hell, if they had too many COVIDs, they'll cancel it anyway. It's a no play. That's just not the way they do it here in baseball anymore. And
unless you're the
it is not the way they're going to do it. If you can go to the news, and you'll see the latest COVID protocols, but there's a lot of question marks in college still, but unless something's changed today, well, this weekend. You're right, Rob. You're right. It doesn't. Baseball, they're going to play. But
and how about our NBA
week
stuff, Tone? How
Yeah,
about
I know.
Yeah.
we did a lot of NBA, right? We've done a lot of NBA, you and I
On this
together
show.
the last 2 years. And
Yes, sir.
how many times are we on at 3 in the afternoon where we're like, who the hell knows who's going to play at 7 o'clock Eastern time? We don't
That's right.
know. And you got to wait, and you got to wait. It's
Yep.
hard.
And
It's
it
hard.
really makes overnights very difficult. And
Right,
I've done some
right,
overnights
right.
that I've been very fortunate. I still haven't done very much. Listen, this year's been really tough. Again, I think most people who know me, follow me, you guys know, a big percentage of my handicapping and assessments done through Intel. And during that COVID, it was all Zoom, boom. It was virtual. It wasn't what it was in 2019 before. It just wasn't. Those guys, the guys I know, I trust. They have the pulse of the team and the coaches. Even though the coaches never say a word or the players never say a word, they know how that locker room is, and or if a player's hurt, if he's going to play, no one has to say anything to him. They know by what's going on around them, and that's pretty important. And I had that for a long time, and it's been. I haven't done very well last year. Last year, I have not done I haven't done nearly well enough, and we're kind of getting back to it a little bit. But you're right, Rob. It's difficult to put overnights out. Football, and this year will be even. You said last year with football. I think college football this year is going to be even tougher because we won't. Again, we're not going to know if something happens where a team doesn't meet the requirements for personnel, then it's not going to be there's several books. Looks like most books are going to call that a no play. All right. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Some contests they're not. For instance, the Circa Million in the NFL.
Yeah.
If there's a forfeit,
Right.
it's a play.
Yep.
Right.
It's a play.
Right.
So guess what? You have no choice in those. Typically, those have to be in. I think. Well, I take that back. I think the last time I played in Hilton, you didn't have to have it in until. Was it Saturday morning? Was it Saturday morning or Sunday morning? Sunday morning. No, I think it was Saturday morning. I think a day ahead of time.
Saturday morning at 11 a.m.,
right.
wasn't it?
So even then, you're in trouble. And then even then, you're in a conundrum to some degree.
Yep.
You're right.
Yeah, and because you don't know, right? I mean, I'm watching SEC media days and the media days that have taken place, and these coaches get up on the podium one after the other, and they're doing their best, right? I mean, I saw Georgia, I saw Alabama, I saw Florida. They're all 85% vaccinated, these squads. These kids want to play football this year, so they went and got the vaccination. So for the most part, they're all pretty high. But yet we see these kids coming down with COVID, even that are vaccinated. So,
That's because they're getting tested.
Yeah,
and the truth is, I don't know if I have no problem telling you, I've been vaccinated. And anytime, and I've said this too, if somebody's giving drugs away free, I'm there. Okay? I am there. I'm getting my drug. And if they open it up again, I'll get another shot. I mean, two's got to be better. Two's more than one.
Yeah.
But we can still actually obtain, acquire, what do you want to call it? Catch the virus. The vaccine doesn't prohibit us from catching it. It prohibits us from having some serious effects from it. So
sure.
if we're a player and we catch it and we're tested positive, even though we had the vaccine, the protocol still says, guess what? You're out. So it's a mess. It's a damn mess. And if any of us had a 20 million laying around, I just say we start a COVID league. You can't even play unless you got COVID.
It sounds like a beer league.
Okay. Yes. Yes. It's a good beer softball league, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking, but I'm in truth, I'm seriously jesting that at this point in time, hell, we might as well just have a COVID league.
You never know.
I think that's going to be the ACC once Clemson goes to the Big Ten, as I'm predicting. And Texas and Oklahoma are now going to go to the SEC. And
did you? I did a long segment with Gabe with the madman Morency on that, and I did as much reading and as much phone calls as I could on that. Have you guys followed up? Have you found out about what's going on with that?
Well,
I
mean, I don't know what you mean by what's going on, but
I mean, SEC, Texas. What's going to happen with Texas, Oklahoma? Do you know that in truth, Texas A&M has unwritten rules. Texas A&M has a full veto.
Right.
They could say
but don't
no.
they need other SEC schools to go with them on that?
Nope. Not according to what I understand and what I've been told. Of course, it's unwritten, and so you're subject to believing who's telling you this. Although one of the ex-coaches from that league, or one of the ex-ADs from the SEC, went public with that unwritten rule, which no one has ever done, and said that's absolutely right. Texas A&M, although there's more than one school from a state, Alabama, for instance, they were all grandfathered. It's when it's after Mizzou and A&M joined, okay, that they came up with this. Listen, okay, now no more than one, because A&M was pretty adamant about.
Of course.
We don't want Baylor, we don't want Texas, we don't want we want to be the only Texas school in the SEC
for obvious reasons. Yep.
Right, and that's when they came up with this the veto rule, the veto power. Fully, it's almost you are the president in that situation, and doesn't matter what Congress or Senate, you can veto it.
How great would that be if Oklahoma was allowed in and Texas wasn't?
Now, oh
wow.
Well, poor Texas. They've kind of had a rough run. Now, I've also understood that Oklahoma State and Oklahoma has some legislature in Oklahoma. There's some laws that. Where Oklahoma is, Oklahoma State can be, and it's law, allegedly. And I haven't gotten answers on this yet. For anybody out there in the audience or anybody laughing at me, could call me. My number's the old song, but but here's the deal. So what's going to happen with that? I mean. That is, if it's, Oklahoma may be prohibited because there's a lot of questions, but most of what's going to happen to schools like, I heard Iowa State was a Big Ten. Iowa State was going to be in the Big Ten. That Kansas may as well be invited to join the Big Ten, and certainly not because they can play football or. Right. Because most of the coaches and the ADs in the Big Ten were afraid of Les Miles. They have young daughters, so they didn't want Les Miles following. And I got in trouble for this. I said that once on Gabe's show. And he says, "Tony, it's a damn good thing we have a 7-second delay because I'm going to have to take that out." I said, "Why?" And that's not true.
I don't have a 7-second delay.
You know what? We're not under FFA guidelines. If we
That's
are,
true. That is true.
Yeah.
It's true.
We don't have. I don't have veto power.
We have said much worse. I'm sure.
And there's plenty of time left. I can top it.
The whole thing can't happen till 2025 anyway. I mean,
that's not true. That's not true. What'll happen is this: it can happen. Now, maybe you're right. What I understand is that it can happen. However, what happens is there's a $76 million buyout. $76 million buyout for the television rights. That means if they want to drag their television rights, Texas wants to drag the Longhorn Network, they have to pay the Big 12 $76 million.
Yeah, because they just passed on renewing their revenue rights after the 25 contract
goes
out. They did that.
Correct.
How about the reason
they'll recoup that in about a year? Going to the SEC because the SEC did what, $850 million last year, and Big 12 was 408.
Well, the Longhorn Network is a bust anyway. That's like
$76 million, I guess.
ESPN paid $300 million for the rights to that. Yeah,
they should have just had a Big 12 network. But Texas has to be Texas. So
the problem with that is the Jayhawks have a network, and they don't listen. That Jayhawks basketball network is not a bust. ESPN pays them a pretty penny to be on Plus, but you can't, for the most part. I never understood quite. It's just so KU gets a little bit of money because most of the time, even a KU non-con game, a non-con that that's a nothing burger is going to be on television, but that's what the Big Ten. I know this as a Jayhawk fan, and again, everybody listening. I don't have a favorite team, but if I'm not vested in the Jayhawks, I'm a fan. That's where I grew up, Lawrence, Kansas. I grew up in that town, snuck in, did all the things kids in Lawrence, Kansas should do, and ended up loving Bud Stallworth and Dave Robish and JoJo White and Ted Owens and everything that goes along with before that, Will Chamberlain, etc., Gale Sayers, John Riggins, Bobby Douglas. That's an Orange Bowl team that converted on a 2-point conversion, lost the Orange Bowl because of a penalty to Sandusky. Okay, here we go.
Penn State, huh?
Oh, Mike, you forgot to mention your pal Nolan Cromwell in that.
Oh, man, Nolan Cromwell. It's hard. Listen, there was a lot of guys. Laverne Smith. I don't know if you remember. There's Laverne. He was a number 1 draft choice for the Steelers and shattered his leg on the opening preseason kickoff return. Never played it down. Good. That's the same. That's a Nolan Cromwell running back. Was Laverne Smith that beat Oklahoma in Oklahoma? And then the following year they took Nolan out. They got ACL injured, and that was a big deal when the Oklahoma they came to Florida. They took him out. Things were a little rowdier, a little more acceptable back then. But I don't know what they're going to do. But you're right. There's a lot of question marks about this, and I remember when this all busted up. When Mizzou and Texas A&M left, then Nebraska, Colorado goes to Pac-12, Nebraska goes to the Big Ten, and the Big 12 became the Little Eight. At that point, Oklahoma and Texas were considering leaving as well, and somehow, some way, the Big 12 survived. But they don't survive. Big 12 does not survive without Oklahoma and Texas.
Right.
They don't.
No shot. Let's go back to the Southwest Conference.
Yeah, I was just thinking that they could many teams could merge with them.
Yeah. Well, there is no Southwest Conference.
Sure, the SWAC is gone.
And that was you know why the Southwest isn't around? You know why it's not around anymore? Because the good teams left there and went where?
Yeah,
the same scumballs that. Never mind.
Yeah,
isn't there a SWAC though for college hoops though?
Huh?
Well, there is for football too. It's FCS SWAC. That's Alcorn State, Jackson State.
Got it.
The old SWC was all the Texas schools, right? Baylor, Oklahoma,
Arkansas,
Texas Tech, Arkansas. Arkansas wound up leaving, but yeah, I mean, you see how the Big 12 could possibly repair itself if they lose those two. We'll take Houston, we'll take somebody else, but it's not the same.
No, and from what I understand is
Tulsa
right now, AAC they would replace the Big 12, I think, as far as the Power 5, Power 6 school, Power 5, because from what I understand, TCU will join the AAC. And, so you got Louisville, you got Houston. They're no power team, but guess what? There's some pretty darn good football. There's some pretty good schools in there.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to go up and join Mountain West, they could make the Mountain West a better conference too, with Boise and Nevada and all that.
Well, could they do that?
San
Could
Diego
the Big 12?
State.
Could the Big 12 reach out and say, "Hey, Boise, hey,
TCU."
There's a few schools that they could that KU could probably draw, or KU.
What about
the Big 12 could probably draw. What's that?
What about Gonzaga?
They want
into
two
the
sport
play
teams,
Kansas.
Right? They want 2 sport teams, though.
That's true.
They want revenue on both ends.
And Gonzaga would be idiot to leave.
Where is Kansas State going to go? The Big Ten's not going to take Kansas State. Where the hell are they going to go? That would be brutal for them.
It would be brutal.
The MAC.
Well, they could go to the MAC, I guess. It's a mess because you see Colorado, they were even a little far. I mean, now the Big 12's in Denver. They're outside of the Pacific time zone. Everybody else is in the PT. It's a messy situation, and it's something that should have been addressed. This is something that doesn't surprise me. And I'm sure it doesn't surprise you guys. I think eventually we won't. Conferences, you're probably going to – here's the deal. Conferences were necessary, guys. They're necessary only for one thing and one thing only, and that's to keep some form – and in truth, I bet you a lot about the NCAA. Rob, you guys both have heard me complain about Good Old Boy Network, et cetera, and the NCAA and the rules and how they dictate, how they make judgment on et cetera, et cetera. But in truth – to some degree, they're a necessity, or you don't have K-States, or you don't have some of these the less than's in conferences where that's where conference come into play, and they have a rev share to some degree, some rev share, so a school can sustain hiring, recruiting teams, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? There are teams that don't pull their weight in conferences. However, there's some loyalty to some degree among some teams. When it comes to Texas, there's no loyalty.
Right.
There's no loyalty. Texas loyalty is to Texas. And I'm not saying I disagree or agree with that. It's just the way they are, and they will always probably be because they're Texas. They have that, look at Notre Dame, guys.
I was just going to say it's the same way Notre Dame is, except you know what? Notre Dame's going to find themselves in the ACC. So
I think
they're not going to be able to hang out by themselves anymore either. But
where players now can earn some money by branding their image, their name, etc. That changes some things. Here's what it changes. If I'm a school, you can play for me. You get to have free. I'm limited on what I can offer you, but I have to have a percentage of your name rights if you're going to get the suite here at the Jayhawk Towers. No. It's bad. It's bad, guys.
Yeah, they thought they were doing something good, but it's opened up a can of worms. Like Bryce Young has already got $1 million deal.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
$1 million?
Yes,
It's crazy.
Isn't
a full ride to a good college or university enough to pay? I mean,
listen, guys. We're going to open up. Not only are we going to have a COVID league, we're going to open up a university on how to rob a bank and get away with it, so you just don't have to do shit the rest of your life. And you can buy your own island, make your own extradition treaty, and life is good because it's either that or let's hit the assembly line.
Well, I'll tell you what this proves. This proves that the boosters at SMU were 40 years too early because they'd have a field day now giving Dickerson cars and James cars and right?
That death penalty.
That would be the Alabama.
What's the other close death penalty? And they should have probably gotten it, but it was basketball, and that was Wichita State. Xavier McDaniels, Cliff Livingston. They got those three. Yep. Their parents were given jobs with the city that they didn't even have to go to. I got to check. They didn't even have to show up along with their house.
Yeah, and it's not even that far in the rearview mirror because look at Reggie Bush at USC.
Yeah.
What he and his mom got, and they
guess what he wants back? He says, "Now I want my shit back."
Right, now I want my shit back.
I want my shit back.
So does the Fab Five. The Fab Five wants their shit back now. So, in the old days, we would call what's going on now the death penalty, but it's not. Yeah. Now it's open season. And I could see Bryce Young, the quarterback for Alabama, doing Dan Marino-style isotoner glove commercials. Oh, I buy my linemen isotoner gloves because those guys aren't going to get $1 million. The guys protecting them, they're going to get a free barbecue dinner at Joey D's Western restaurant.
And we got kids now that are and pros. Well, finally some pros, but soon to be, we'll have kids that will be young men who will be coming out of the closet playing football, which was a big no-no. You're afraid what was going to happen to you. And for good reason. I don't blame them one bit because they should have been afraid because the girls may be mean, the boys are just homicidal. Okay. But soon they'll be I can't wait to see who the first quarterback to come out and do pantyhose commercials like Joe Namath did.
Sure.
Yes. And that's a calling.
A fur coat and some pantyhose. I like what Ryan Day, the head coach of Ohio State, said today. He was almost encouraging his team, but he said, I hope that our players find a way to share the money. Because the only way you're going to stop these kids from being completely jealous of one another, not in every instance, but in a lot of instances.
You're right.
Again, offensive linemen have to protect the guy that's making $1 million, and they're getting a brisket dinner. Screw you. So if you're smart and you're Bryce Young, you spread it around a little bit. Hey, listen, guys, I know I got all the money, but here's yours. in NFL they buy their guys Rolex watches or whatever they do.
Oh,
it's got to be something
yes,
along
yes.
those lines. Now you got to do that in college football.
And I don't. Here's the deal. I've said it many, many times. I've been on shows where the hosts or the guests have denigrated or just railed and preached and put themselves on a pedestal. And some they won't listen to this, but some know who I'm talking about because I've said it to them. And that is, they said, "What's wrong with this kid? He had the world in the palm of his hands. He had a $20 million signing bonus, and now he's not." And I said to him, point blank on the radio, said, "Listen, guys, look at me now. I'm old. I'm supposed to be smarter. You give me $30 million when I was 18 years old, brother. This is what I would have called the university and said, listen, I'm not really quitting, but there's a pretty damn good chance you're going to have to come get me a rehab before I can rejoin the team."
Yeah.
That's exactly. I mean, how do you blame them? I'd be dead.
And think how many children you'd have.
Damn, that would have been fun. I would let
be a way to spend the money on all those alimony checks.
I mean, that would have been my deal. It would all been given away anyway. I'd have given it all away because I don't, I don't care.
I mean, it's a good thing. These kids have to find a way amongst each other, these players on the team, to make sure that they're all on the same page. Because if they're not, I could see Alabama going. Once the cohesiveness wears away on a football team, I don't care how many 5-stars you have on a team. It doesn't matter.
It becomes
crap. Doesn't matter.
No, I couldn't agree more. In fact, you're going to have a coach. You're going to have a coach that does nothing but monitor the camaraderie and the money, where it's going. What's that kid? I'm sure he doesn't. You can't, if you're going to constitutionally say that he has every right to make that money, that much money, then you can't constitutionally tell him how to spend it.
Right. But if he wants to avoid a few blindside hits, he'll be wise enough.
I'm going to make $50 million, and then I'm going to pay my bodyguards $1 million apiece. Anybody screws with me, just kill them.
Yeah.
I think they said that in the movie Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Well, funny looking, funny, ha ha.
Yeah, that's right. Joe Pesci.
What makes me so effing funny?
Mm-hmm. Well, because you're about 3'10", that's why.
I never realized he had a part in forming the Four Seasons, Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons, Joe Pesci.
Who knows? Who knows? They're all aliens anyway.
You have to, these kids, bottom line, they're going to have to find a way. It's great that they can make the money, but you got to find a way to make everybody happy. There's 60 kids on that team, and I'm not saying the third team has to get in on it because they're going to get their chance. But
so how do you make all the kids? How do you do it? How do you make your whole? Listen, first off, how do you please your 10th cousin, your uncle, your great uncle, who you never knew you had, and then all the players on the team?
We're not pleasing him.
No.
I'm pleasing my 5 bodyguards in front of me, the people that are protecting me, my 10th uncle that I didn't know I have. But
this whole time I couldn't help but to think of Allen Iverson, $88 million down the toilet because of what you guys just said. Handouts, here you go, nice guy.
But give it away. That's different. You see, there
was other expenses too, but
there's some karma to that, and there's some not only just karma, there's some damn just good stuff. That's good stuff in my world, see.
Yeah, I mean,
who cares about your Lamborghini? Because you know how many people you can make happy, and how many people and while 10% of them will be the only ones that appreciate it, somebody will benefit from it, and you never benefit from a Lamborghini.
And Allen Iverson is a really good comparison now.
Well, because
I think about it.
I can.
A lot of it was just
totally
wasted.
Agree with. I mean, that's a guy who just didn't want to forget where he came from.
Yeah.
All his childhood, but here, you guys, we all made it. I didn't just make it. We all.
Yep.
You can't fault Allen Iverson for any.
Nope. I don't begrudge him.
That's a good human quality. Actually, that's a great human quality. On his
rare one.
Yep.
Yeah, because most of them take it and forget where they came from.
Yep.
So I mean, good for Allen Iverson, but for these kids, again, you just don't want to create any animosity amongst players. Yeah, it's hard to handicap, right? How will we know what's going on in the locker room? Yeah. Alabama's at each other's throats.
I would have known. And I still think, like I said, we get back to normal with the beat writers and such.
Right.
Those are the guys that know.
Yeah, they will know.
I'm telling you, they know.
No, they know. True.
And I don't have to. The only thing I have to do is when I acquire a contract, I make sure they're taken care of. If I share information that way they don't have to work too hard to get you guys. And I share that with them. That's kind of their payback. But more than anything, I not only have to that's the first thing I do is I have to handicap the beat writer. I have to handicap which ones are full of shit and which ones know what's going on. You have to handicap that first, too.
It's funny because I know a handful, but to a man, what they all tell me is they can't apply what they know to betting. And they're more than happy to tell me because they know I can apply it, but they can't apply it. I had a guy tell me, he said, I'm here every day, Rob. I'm around this team every day. And if I make a bet on or against this team, I'm going to lose. And I know what's going on. He says, I have a respect for you guys in that business that can apply this information because they can't.
Well,
in a lot of instances, not every.
You just tell them. You don't need to apply it.
That's right.
You don't need to. And in truth, that's part of what we have to do is apply. Well, the information you give me, I have to apply it. And it's not black. It's not just black and white. How you apply that, right. It's different. Yeah.
Totally.
I don't know.
Well, that's why I hate that couldn't win any money.
We got to this point, you guys. Here's how we got to this point. Was Rob was saying this week needs to be really careful with how you play MLB because who's sitting, you can play a team and they could be sitting three players.
Or they pull them off in the fourth inning, right, Tone? They pull them right off the field. You just got traded, dude.
However, not only is it this week, you have to be very careful next week because who's playing, who's not, who's going to be inserted, who's unhappy, who's happy. There's some more assessment that has to go after the aftermath of July 30th. Then, by the time you get that, you got all that inside you. You think you got your arms wrapped around it. Then you got September 1st expanded rosters. It's a damn mess. Baseball is hard from here on to the close, and you better be on top. Every second, every nanosecond of the day you have free, it needs to be spent on who's playing and who's not playing, who's happy and who's not happy. Can you find that out? That's how convoluted it becomes.
Well, we found one Friday, right? Because we were both together on Joe's show Saturday. Mm-hmm. And on that show, I had read going in Saturday morning that Chris Woodward said that he did not like the body language of his team. And he didn't call them quitters because a manager's not going to call his team quitters. But he said, I don't like what I see with this team. So I went out Saturday and faded the Texas Rangers, and they lost their 11th in a row. And Sunday, faded the Texas Rangers. They lost their 12th in a row. They almost got no hit on Saturday, right? They were being no hit for 7 innings. That's a team where we found that the clubhouse isn't great. And that's what we're looking for. I thought Minnesota's might be in that same boat, and maybe they will be. I'm not sure. Barrios' name is all over the place today.
Well, that Woodward, that was a game I made a big play on the under. I thought that number was ridiculous. If you remember, I had the under in the Cardinals and the Cubs.
I'm talking about the Rangers. Yeah, but the Cardinals game, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about Woodward.
Yes.
Woodward deal. And here's the deal with that one. Guess what? I was worried for a minute. I think it was 3-1 going into the 8th inning. 5-3 final.
Yeah, they put some runners on late too, but they got out of it in that game. The Cardinals. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a happy clubhouse, an unhappy club. If you can find one, you can play with them, against them, whatever. John, we talked about the Phillies a couple of weeks ago, and Reese Hoskins said it's on us to make management make a move. They really haven't done enough right now. They're on a 2-4 run again. We'll see what this week brings. But, way back to the beginning of this, guys, it's even different. I keep dragging this out.
That's okay.
As a bettor, it's different than as an advisor. Like as a bettor with my own money, I feel I can be a little reckless. I'll play overnights. I don't get it's me, only me. I'm not putting you guys at risk. But with the clients, I'm way more cautious, waiting. But for myself, we're gamblers. We'll take the risk.
In our situation, guys, here's the situation. If we had, and I don't want this freedom. here's the deal. If we had more freedom with clients where we were able to communicate at this moment, I can send out an alert saying, look, I'm off of my overnight. Right this second, I am off my overnight, and this is why I'm off my overnight. And while we have the ability to do that with who we work for, what happens in those situations is clients, then they DM you maybe or on Twitter or something, but then you become a little close to them, and the truth is we don't want that because and the people that pay us, or at least they don't want that either, truthfully. So and that's what I do. I don't get involved in that. But you're right. I have no problem getting off. In fact, one of the things I released my football. I don't do it very often. John Ryan, Sports One, and Rob Veno. I don't do it very often, but I released a 5%er for week 1, and I believe I did this because, and I made it very clear. Worst case scenario in this is that we can still, even if the one thing happens that I say, this is the only way I will not like this play or this game, no matter what happens between now, and obviously that's not true, but all things equal between now and week 1, September 12th, there's one variable that would make me consider getting off this play, and that's the only one. And even if there's a few injuries that may on the surface appear to be not unfavorable, we may not. Long story short is this: the line that is right now, I don't think it holds serve, and I think by September 12th, it's probably outside of the parameters I put this play as a 5% go. Okay, I fully expect that to pull us down, so that nobody else can buy it, because I think it's going to get out of hand, get out of reach. But I had a guy I really respect tell me he disagreed with me.
That's going to happen.
Yeah, I did, and he said, "Well, let's just ask such and such." And I said, "Well, we're not asking such and such because he will just disagree with me because he didn't like me." No, I didn't say that. I was just kidding. But that is where we're at. I'm with you, Rob. I do things that I know I can get off. Even if I can't get off them, I have the confidence or the delusion that I can get off in a live game too, a live betting situation that I can basically leverage.
Right.
But what I don't, and that's something you can't possibly relate to it's very difficult. I mean, you only have 10 seconds period anyway.
That's right.
Yeah.
No,
I know one thing. If I don't, it's not about getting off the plays, but if I don't get off the show, I'm not going to have any dinner.
Oh, I forgot about you.
Oh, man. All right.
Well, guess what? I apologize twice then. Once for being late, once for keeping me on. My free play.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Reservations at 6 o'clock. It's at 6 o'clock.
Phillies. I like the Phillies in Howard tonight. People disagree with me. I think the price of steel. I got them at minus 120. I can see that they've already climbed to. There is nothing less than minus 120. In fact, there isn't a 120 left. It's to play more against Ross and the Nationals than it is.
I agree.
Than it is on Howard, and because I think all three of us know that we're going to have to depend on some of the bullpen arms with Howard starting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Kimbrel might be one of them by the end of the week. Who knows? We talked about that earlier.
Maybe.
But I think to recap, we liked the Reds. At least I did with my angle of the day, being a dog against. Yes, I do.
And who's Miley?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that play too. I really do.
Yep. And then, of course, in the swimming
play
pool,
against the Cubs. It's against the Cubs, not on Miley.
I better not start the swimming, Rob. I'll miss dinner tomorrow.
Thank you, Cubs.
Okay.
But Tony, in swimming, I had Tori Husk in the 100-meter butterfly.
I heard when I came on, I said I'm hanging up really fast because if we're
double 100th of a second
swimming.
Well, tonight I'm on Kieran Smith, USA, 7-1, 200-meter freestyle. He takes down the two Brits who are going to be in lanes 4 and 5 tonight.
Is he 20-1?
Spectacular. 7-1.
Well, that's not good enough for me to stop doing what I'm doing to watch that.
And then one of my boys from Hungary, Christoph Midak, 200
like
meter
the name.
butterfly. This is a semifinal race tonight. I'm almost positive a semifinal race. And the final will then be tomorrow night. But he is 25-1 to win the gold medal.
Oh, that might be enough, Tone.
So what are you
25 to
playing?
1. Do you think he's any good?
Who?
One of
Christoph Midak.
Chris Christopherson?
No, Christoph Midak of Hungary. I told you, they're Hungary swimmers, man.
PEDs.
And you know what? I'm getting pretty hungry myself right now. Did you get that one? Did you
What's
get
Rob's
that one?
play? What?
We didn't even spit
We were
one
talking
out.
about hungry, and I said I'm getting pretty hungry.
Oh.
Did you get that?
I'm loose. Well,
The Hungarian.
Yeah,
I'm sober.
I missed
I'm
my
a little
calling.
slow.
Get us out, John.
Yes, sir.
Rob, what was your pick again? Just to recap, quick.
I didn't even give one, but I'll tell you this. I'll just give our listeners very quickly. We'll get them in the mood for college football, and I'll give you a season over/under win total. The first one I played this year, Tennessee under 6.5 wins for various reasons. I'll spit them out as quick as I can. New head coach, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. It's Josh Heupel there. Not the first choice, but a solid choice. But brand new systems for this team.
Yeah.
What's worse, guys, one of the real reasons is that the transfer portal acts as free agency in college football nowadays. Tennessee, according to 247 Sports, who ranks these guys, lost 4 of the top 14 players to the transfer portal. Lost their top 2 running backs, lost their best left tackle, lost their best linebacker, all gone from this team, which is now and first year of a complete system overhaul like Josh Heupel is going to pull here. The coaches usually do a weeding out process anyway. A lot of guys don't like what's coming in, and they take off, or the coaches get rid of them during the season. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a long year. And then you look at the schedule for Tennessee. This win total is at 6.5. And we know how odds makers set these numbers, right? They go up and down a team schedule, and they go favorite. Okay, 7 favorites, throw 7 up on the board. Throw 7.5, do something, add some juice, do something. They put a 6.5 up on a team. When I go through their schedule, I only see 5 games that they're definitively going to be favored in. And that leaves 7 other ones. I don't think they make it to 7-5, which is what has to happen to cash this ticket. I think at best they go 6-6, which will cash an under ticket. Give me Tennessee under 6.5.
Oh, I love it. And I'll add on to it that
just so you know,
Tennessee will go to the Big 12.
Just so you know, you're doomed.
Because you have under?
I already played under 6.5.
Oh, we're not doomed. Then we're gonna drink some mezcal and celebrate. Yeah,
You're
get the
doomed.
tequila out. Where's my tequila? Let's go.
Yeah, I almost, but I didn't. I almost played Vanderbilt under 3.5 as well, but I didn't do it. But that's the only SEC team total I played. Yeah.
Like I said, I think
that,
Tennessee, with that kind of season, probably goes to the Big 12 in exchange for Texas and Oklahoma.
How about that?
That would Tennessee in the Big 12 would be a they can play a little
It's
basketball.
probably going to be the Big 6, but they can still call it the Big 12, I guess.
Be back to Big 8.
Yeah,
The Big
you bring
8.
up something great though, John. Wouldn't it be great if conferences could trade teams?
Yeah.
Hey, we'll give you these guys. You take these guys. Sure.
Yeah.
That would be
Every year.
awesome. That would be fantastic.
It'd be like soccer. You listen. You have to finish in the
That's
top,
true.
or you're relegated. Then you got to find somebody who's going to take your ass.
We can have DraftKings.
Yeah, right.
Be like playing the PGA Tour. Anyway, thanks for your time, guys. I'm going to go.
Sorry I was late, guys.
I'm going to go have a nice fillet right now and a
Always
glass
a
of
pleasure.
wine.
Beautiful.
So,
Too
on
healthy.
behalf of Tony Finn, on behalf of Rob Veno, on behalf of myself, the Predictive Playbook, WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com. May all the wins be yours.